We are here today to talk about trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder, also referred to as PTSD. I have with me here a graduate student from St. Paul University who is a counseling intern. And thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Tell me about what a trauma means.
Well, trauma occurs when people experience a traumatic stressor in their lives. And as a result of that, they may experience severe and incapacitating psychological distress in association with that event.
What symptoms might someone have if they have experienced a trauma?
If someone's experienced a trauma, they might sometimes have nightmares, avoidance of people, places, and other stimuli associated with the trauma that they experienced. These symptoms occur as a part of a normal reaction, immediate response to overwhelming events in your life. Yet, if these symptoms don't resolve themselves and go away over a period of 1 month, then it's possible that that person is suffering from something more complicated, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, known as PTSD.
So what is PTSD?
Yeah, PTSD is defined by mental health professionals as an anxiety disorder that can occur following a traumatic event. Although we commonly think of trauma as a reaction to a violent, even or a terrible accident, individuals can experience emotional trauma after being physically injured or even diagnosed from a serious illness as well. It's important to take those aspects of trauma into consideration. There's a wide scope of trauma that can affect people. In addition, a person may have felt that their life or the life of another was in danger and that there was no control of the situation or the outcomes associated with what happened. Even witnessing an event in which someone died or was seriously injured can result in someone having PTSD symptoms.
What emotions accompany PTSD?
There are 3 primary emotions that accompany someone who's suffering from PTSD, and they are anger, fear, and hopelessness.
When does someone need to seek help?
If these symptoms don't go away, it's time to seek help and find some tools to heal. See your family doctor and have them refer you to the appropriate mental health professional.
Welcome. We are here with Carol today to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. She is a counseling intern student at St. Paul University. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to know if you can talk to us about post-traumatic stress disorder and its long-term effects.
Yeah, that's a good question because sometimes we don't really understand what are the differences between people who have post-traumatic stress disorder and those who don't. And there are actual physical differences that can support the behavioral differences that people can actually see. So brain imaging studies have shown that the actual brains of people with and without PTSD are different in certain structures. So in general, the gray matter density is less for people who have PTSD, just generally cortically speaking. But within that, there are two structures that are different, and the brain imaging studies will show that. So the amygdala, for one, is a part of the brain that is in charge or has the responsibility for some of the emotional regulation. And so people who have post-traumatic stress disorder and their ability to regulate their emotions is compromised, and the structure itself is enlarged. So that's one of the reasons why there are difficulties with bringing themselves down to a normal state or a more calming state. And they also, the hippocampus is another structure that's related to this ability to mitigate the heightened arousal. That structure tends to be smaller, and it's also responsible for memory and learning. So when someone who has post-traumatic stress disorder will tend to have difficulties with cognition due to these differences in structures. So, for example, in terms of executive functions. So this is the part of our brain where we use for attention, for organizing, for planning. This is compromised, and also learning and memory. The short-term memory tends to be compromised as well. So these differences that you see behaviorally are attributed to some actual physical differences.
How does one treat PTSD?
Treatment for PTSD can vary depending on the context surrounding the traumatic events or event, and also the symptoms that the individual that is manifest in the individual. That being said, one evidence-based treatment, such as cognitive behavior therapy, has shown to be quite effective in treating post-traumatic stress disorder. There are other therapies that can be used, such as complementary therapies, pet therapy, nature-based therapies is quite popular as well. And these can add a level of support to somebody's course of or treatment that they're being offered. Also, what has been shown to be quite effective, really, is how that individual is supported in their community. So we can have peer support networks, or spiritual communities have also been shown to be quite effective in helping that individual in areas of their lives that sometimes we take for granted in terms of isolation and being able to feel that sense of support with a like-minded community.
Thank you for sharing that, Carol.
Thank you.
So thank you all for coming to this peer support group for PTSD. I know it's really hard to come up and show up, and because I know I need this as much as probably you need this. So I hope we can support each other through this difficult time. I know I've been struggling for a couple of years now on my own, and it's hard.
It's difficult not think about my brother. My brother was a Marine, and I think he didn't die in war. He came to visit me, and we were at the bar, and I was acting silly, and my brother was close to me. He started to fight for me, and it was an accident, but somebody pushed him, he fell back, and he died. The way I never imagined that could happen to him, and I feel so guilty that I generate the death of my brother.
I know what you mean. I feel like my mind is always thinking about it. It's always on my consciousness, 2 years ago, I was driving down the 417, and I was coming home late from being at my friend's house, and I saw a car overturned, and it's just silent, and I knew I was the only one that was going to be there. So I pulled over, and I called 911 right away, and I approached the car. It was too late. It was too late. The occupants of the car there was blood everywhere, and there's just nothing that can be done. And I have these nightmares about that experience that just won't go away. It haunts me.